Hi. Um, I just had to say hi, but I'm getting ready to close my face because that's horribly distracting. So, hi, bye. All right, so you're looking at your pacing guide. So, I have linked all the things that I will be going through in chapter 8. So, it would be a fantastic idea if you would at least have these open, maybe do a dual screen, print them if you want to take notes with me. I am going to be asking you to pause videos so you can try some problems just like you would have if you were in class, so you can get as close to the best experience possible in the situation that we have. So, with that being said, I will be posting the even solutions at some point in time. I just haven't gotten that far yet. So, let's start with lesson 8.1. This whole chapter is about our first of two things that we have to learn in AP statistics so that we can make decisions with the data that we have learned how to collect and all the great things that we know the data can tell us. So today we're going to be making the best guess at the mean of, instead of chapter 7, we're going to be doing chapter 6 because I don't have any chapter 7 test scores. We're going to be creating what's called a confidence interval. So we're going to take the point estimate and we're going to add and subtract what's called the margin of error. So to show you how this works, I have given all of us a random sample of 5 scores. I did a random number generator and I got 5 of your chapter 6 test scores, and here they are. I calculated 73.6 as the mean. So in our confidence interval, this is what's going to be called the point estimate for the true mean. Now, you guys don't know the true mean of the chapter 6 test. Now, I do, but we're going to use this as an example on how we can give an interval which we hope we can find the true mean in the middle of. That's what this whole chapter is about. So, our sample mean is going to be what's called the point estimate. So, to do a review from chapter 6, the population will be all of your chapter 6 test scores. The parameter is mu, the true average of your test scores. We have 5 chapter 6 test scores that create our sample, and our statistics X bar is going to be 73.6. So I am going to scroll this up, and I would like for you to pause the video, read through, and think about 3, 4, and 5. And when you're ready to hear me keep talking, press play. All right, so hopefully you decided what you wanted a nice margin of error to be around the sample mean of 73.6. So hopefully you've written down an interval and you've given a percent to how confident you feel your interval is. Now, it is quite okay if you don't feel really confident about your interval. So if you put a low number, that's not a problem. So if this was real in class, every group would have gotten a different interval because they would have gotten a different sample mean. So assuming that we've done this and one group who got a different mean than we did created the interval of 71 to 79. Now, if you didn't write your interval in number 4 in interval notation, that's what this is. So the low end of the interval is 71, the high end of the interval is 79. That is not a coordinate. So what was their point estimate? So their point estimate is the number that is right in between here. And so basically you're going to find the average. So you're going to take the 71 and the 79, you're going to add them together and divide by 2. So if you take 71, 79, add and divide by 2, you're going to get a point estimate of 75. And so then the margin of error, so I think you can tell if the 75 is right between the 71 and the 79, the margin of error has to be 4, because 71 plus 4 gives me the 75 that's in the middle. And then 79 minus 4 gives me the 75. So there's a margin of error of 4 points on either side of the point estimate. So I'm going to claim that the true mean test score is 82. Does your interval support or deny this claim? So I'm going to use the interval from number 6 to answer this question. And then you will look at your interval and see if it does the same thing. So this interval 71 to 79, can you see that the entire interval is below what I'm saying that the true test scores mean are is? So since 71 through 79, the entire interval is below 72. That group from number 6, their interval does not support this claim. Now look at your interval. Is 82 inside of your interval? If it is, then your interval will actually support this claim. This is going to become more clear as we continue through this chapter. Um, so, as we always do, we're going to look at our important ideas. So, let's talk about the things that we need to take away from this first lesson. The point estimate is going to be a statistic, so it's going to always come from your sample. It's going to provide a reasonable guess about the population parameter. So for when we're doing problems about proportion, our point estimate is going to be p hat because that's going to estimate our true proportion p. And when we're doing problems that deal with averages, we're going to use x bar to estimate our true population's average of mu. So our confidence interval is always going to look like you take your point estimate plus or minus your margin of error. So for any confidence interval from A to B, to find your point estimate, you're averaging the endpoints. So you're going to add them, divide by 2. For the margin of error, you're going to find the width of your confidence interval. So that's B minus A. And we're going to take half of that, and that will give you your margin of error. Now, this next thing is super important because you know College Board is going to want you to explain all of your answers and what they mean. So I would highly recommend that this template be put into your brain. And you'll fill in the blanks based on the confidence interval that you calculate. We are blank percent confident that the interval from A to B captures the true. And here you're going to write exactly what you're trying to estimate in the context of the problem. So, for example, in that scenario we did with the chapter 6 test scores, looking at the interval that problem number 6 did, 71 to 79, and they said they were like 72% confident. So we are 72% confident that the interval from 71 to 79 captures the true mean test scores of block 3's chapter 6 tests. Now, let me tell you what confidence interval gives you. A confidence interval gives you plausible, reasonable values. So if you want to pause this and grab your textbook, I want to point something out to you. In your textbook on page 475, which I'm not ready, so I have to turn to it, there is a caution and a red box that I want to read to you. So, the top of page 475, plausible does not mean the same thing as possible. Some would argue that just about any value of a parameter is possible. A plausible value of a parameter is a reasonable or believable value based on the data. And then the caution right beside it says your confidence level. So that's the number you put in your percent, the percent that you're confident. It does not tell us the chance that a particular confidence interval captures the population parameter. Instead, the confidence interval gives us a set of plausible values for the parameter. So this is not a percent that represents a probability. And we'll continue to reiterate that through this chapter. So I'm going to put up the check your understanding. I would like for you to pause the video and see what you can do with the check your understanding. All right, so now that you've read that and thought about that, hopefully you were able to take the template and interpret the confidence interval. We are 95% confident that the interval from 0.175 to 0.225 captures the true proportion of U.S. adults who would correctly answer. And there is your point estimate and your margin of error using the formulas that you were given above. And then if people guess one of the 4 choices at random, about 25% should get the answer correct. Does this interval provide convincing evidence? So since the interval gives us the plausible values and our entire confidence interval, I look back at it, is below 25%. So the interval does give us convincing evidence that less than 25% of all US adults would answer this question correctly. All right, guys, that's how this is going to be. I hope that we're good. And you can always offer any suggestions, thoughts, comments. I am happy to take them. This is uncharted territory for all of us. Stay safe.